So I just wanted to show off my little method of cleaning out these. So let me make sure I can actually see. So I want to show my method of cleaning out these lifter rods. So getting inside here is really difficult. Last time I cleaned it out, I obviously didn't clean it out all the way because there's still a bunch of gunk. And so a little method I came up with is to tape off all the holes, put some all thread down in there, and then fill it all the way up with brake clean. And then, basically, just glue it out, because I couldn't find a pipe cleaner brush big enough to actually go all the way in here. Then you just clean it out, pour it out until it eventually comes out clear. You want to stick the all thread in there first, because it's less volume to fill up. You don't waste as much brake clean. And all thread helps because the threads help kind of break it all up. Not too bad. Alright, so this is one of the rockers, and of course, just like everything else, it's all gummed up on the inside. I cleaned it out, but it got gummed up again. So the important thing with these is to clean out this little hole right here. At the top, there's a little oil hole. And this goes all the way through into the main hole. And so the way it works is there's a groove cut out in the inside of here. It goes all the way around. And the oil comes through the hole in the bottom of the the rocker shaft that we just cleaned. Around in this little groove and then out this hole. And then it dribbles out this hole down both sides of the rocker arm. This side goes down to the valve to lubricate it, and the other side it goes down to the push rods. So we want to make sure that this hole is clear. That way, that can happen. And so, I'm going to just clean all these up with brake clean, make them all nice and squeaky clean, get all that crud out of there, and hopefully it'll stop gumming up. So I just go ahead and started cleaning everything up. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue doing that. I don't know how well this one's going to come in on camera, but you can actually see inside there, that little bump, that is where the oiler hole on the bottom here, so these little oiler holes right there, actually have worn into the bottom face, or the bottom of inside there. So yeah, these things are pretty worn, pretty shot, but I'm going to clean them up anyway because a new one is like $300 on eBay. $400. Depends. So I'm just going to clean them up and hopefully they all go back together. So I got everything cleaned up and put back together. And so last night I was doing some reading, and remember this? This is the oil line that we took out. It kind of sits like this. This goes to the rear camshaft bearing. That's where the oil comes from. Flows through here into the block where it goes into the head. So on this section that goes into the engine block, next to the cam bearing, you have this. So this threads into the engine block, and this line threads onto here. Now the purpose of this little piece, this is not just a fitting. On the other end of the line, there's a fitting that goes from the line fitting on the end here to a pipe fitting into the engine block. That's pretty typical. This is not just a miscellaneous fitting. This is an orifice. This is a metered orifice that restricts oil flow so that only a small amount of oil goes into the rockers. That way you don't lose all your oil pressure through there. Now, this is supposed to be a metered orifice, meaning there's supposed to be a hole in there. It is completely gummed up. when I found out about this muted orifice after reading a few online forums and I don't know if it's in the shop manual, I couldn't find it in there, I thought, hey, this might be the thing that's clogged. And sure enough, this is the side that threads into the engine block, and it is completely clogged up. So, I'm going to move the camera, zoom in a little bit, and we're going to go ahead and unclog this and see how screwed up it is. And then this might actually have been the problem the whole time. So we got this little orifice here. This is a better place to see it. And so once again, this is the side that threads into the block, and this is the side that goes to that line. And so it kind of just goes in like this, and the oil comes through this way. So let's just see how gummed up it is. Because I can't see through it at all. You probably should be able to see through an orifice. That is, yeah, that's gummed up. I push on it pretty hard. Oh man, I can't even get this thing through. Let's try to like dig it all out here. Looks like a chunk of something in there. Alright, let's clean this up. Then we'll be able to see everything a little clearer. Go ahead and zoom out a bit. This will make it easier to see what's the actual brass fitting and then what isn't. So yeah, we can see. Yeah, that is just crud stuck in there, and that is stuck in there good. There we go. So there we go. Now you can just kind of see the orifice supposed to be. I forgot that little chunk out of toasted oil or whatever. There we go. So yeah, that wouldn't even get through because that little thing was all plugged up. So let's go ahead and flush this through. Oh, yeah, that was, man, that was gummed up. I think we found our problem. We're going to start putting everything back in, and I'll kind of oil everything as we go. That way there's no dry spots. First we got our nice cleaned up orifice. That's going to go all the way in that back corner there. Get a good little... Oh yeah, you can see a lot better now that it's daytime. So yeah, right there. Not focus on the spark plug wire. So yeah, that right there is where the orifice threads in. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to see if I can get it in there without getting my head in the way. Probably will not succeed in that. See, why take yoga classes when you can work on an old car? The reason that I'm not cleaning out everything past this is because I can't without pulling the camshaft. In order to pull the camshaft, you gotta pull the engine. And that's just more than I'm willing to sign up for. So I'm hoping with the new oil and getting that chunk out, it won't re-clog. If it does, well, let's do all this over again until it doesn't. So this little oil. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and put the rockers back on. Freshly rebuilt socket wrench. It's starting to act up on me. You know, I was tightening and it would like slip. I was like, that's not good. And it wouldn't like hold which direction it was supposed to go in. So I took it apart. Sure enough, it was all gummed up on the inside. So took it apart, cleaned it up, oiled it, put it back together. Good for another 7 years. Cool. And now I'll go ahead and torque everything down. And torque it to that much. All right. Okay, quick shout out. If you ever get one of these old cars and you want to work on it yourself, which I highly recommend doing, it gets expensive when you have somebody else working on it, and these aren't all that complicated. I'm pretty sure that anybody who really sets their mind to it and is committed can do this work. I'm not super crazy and I can do it. What you're gonna need, one of these, the shop manual for the car. Now this is the 1955 shop manual. There's the 1956 supplement that I ordered on eBay and never got. Now the key of course is step one, make sure that you're at top dead center for that cylinder, because you don't want to adjust that while the valve is open because you're gonna start breaking stuff. So we go ahead and pull the cap off the distributor, get to top dead center at each cylinder, adjust the valves, and carry forward. Now one thing that's kind of a bummer is in the Corvair, you only have to position it twice and it tells you what lifters that you can adjust. Like for example, turn it toward piston 1 is at top dead center, adjust exhaust and intake for piston 1, this for piston 2, this for piston 3, whatever, based on where the camshaft is. This, it doesn't tell you, it just says get it to top dead center and adjust both the valves, which means you don't have to turn it 6 times instead of 2. Now to make my life a little easier, I'm just going to go ahead and pull all the spark plug wires and the cap and the spark plugs, because if you remove the spark plugs, you're not compressing, you're not using the compression stroke, which makes the engine a lot easier to turn over. And I'll probably also remove the coil just so it's not in the way. Car's been sitting for 36 years at least before I bought it. Sorry, 26 years. Which is kind of crazy to think about. Longer than I've been alive. And so that's the thing with these. I'm probably fast forwarding through this, but with these really old cars, I love people like, oh, the Honda Civic is so old, it's from 1994. Unless your car can retire, it's not old. This car's been sitting for so long, and so yes, everything's going to just kind of need to be, heavily maintained up until it kind of settles back in. So I might have to remove that orifice and unclog it a few times before it finally kind of settles down. But that's just how it is. At the end of the day, you can do everything yourself with just a basic set of hand tools. A little know-how. This will help get the side plate on a little easier. Now the reason I haven't put it back on yet is because 2 of these lifters are missing their little retainer springs. Now, that means the lifter's going to fall apart when it doesn't have pressure on it. When it has pressure on it, the retainer spring doesn't actually do anything. Now that does make it hard to find the 0 lash condition because the plunger can come up higher than normal. So what I'm going to do for those 2 is kind of eyeball where the 0 lash position is, and then we go from there. Now one of the retainer springs broke, and last time I took this all apart, I took all the broken chunks out. The other time, the spring didn't break, it just came off, and I couldn't get it back on. So I might try to dig out that retainer spring and see if I can get it back on. We shall see. Okay, so let's get back to top dead center, and then adjust it one more time just to make sure. 1, 2, 3 half turns. Alright. That first one, just want to be extra careful because it's got a messed up lifter. Alright, so the next one is going to be next in the firing order. So you're right about there. Got everything put back together. Now let's hope everything getting oiled. So it's started up. Not too bad for a cold start. Alright, let's see if there's any oil coming out in there. I mean, it is quieter, but that's because it's already pre-oiled. I'm not seeing any oil come out. Yeah. I'll rev it a bit, see if it's just... But it's not looking good. Well, we're starting to get a little oil ooze coming out of right there. So that's a good sign. Oh yeah, there we go. Now we're talking. Oh yeah, you can see. Nice. Alright. I'll keep revving it up a little bit so it doesn't die. And well, hopefully it looks like it's starting to oil up. It's trying. Oil's coming out of the oiler at a pretty good rate, and not seeing it come out of the rockers quite yet. But it definitely goes to show that it's working. Oil's getting there, and it didn't do that before. So I think what I'm going to do is put the valve cover on, go for a little drive, let everything get up to temperature, and see how it goes. See if it either clogs up or comes undone. I'm seeing a little oil come through the creases, which is good. Oil's starting to come out of up here. So yeah, I think we're really... Oh, oil's coming out of that little hole. Nice. Alright, I think it just needs to warm up. So I'm going to take it for a little drive and check back in. let's see. Now the oil and everything's all hot. Let's see how well everything's getting oiled. The tick is a little louder than when we started, but not as loud as it was. So. Alright, well, there is a nice stream of oil coming out of there, which is a lot more than what we started with. Now those two lifters look good. You see how those little oil holes are full. These ones back here, and up here, not so much. So, I mean, some of them are getting oil, but I mean, if that's squirting, they should all be squirting. So, I don't know. Now let's see if I plug that up if there's better oil flow. Now it's all streaming out the other side. Just dump it. Well, I mean, that's a good sign that we're getting oil there. It's just kind of a bummer that it's not getting all the way out to there, you know? But it is what it is. It's better, it's just not perfect. Since that main oil thingy, that little oil tube right there, since that's getting oil and spurting out, I think that we're getting, we're in a lot better shape than we were. So I'll go and call that a win, and see you with the next project, I suppose.